The music player asked for my security code? Like, I mean, once I've gotten into the computer, is that the thing we need to keep most secure is to play a song? Whatever. That was just a weird pause delay to starting the podcast because once you're in the computer, the music is not the most, I guess, a musician. What am I talking about? If you were a musician, the unreleased music and whatnot would be valuable. But then you're not going to play it on the stupid default player anyways. No, that was dumb. It's put me off. It's put me off at the beginning of the podcast. It's put me off the news. It's angered me. I'm furious. I am furious. I also did not organize my stories like I keep wanting to do every week. This is the same. Kids are now going to like 1 or 2 classes a day, basically half days of school sometimes. So it's actually very unclear to me as to whether or not kids are going to be at school or at home. The problem, it's not like I don't want my kids to stay home or go to school. I just want them to do one or the other. This half measures is what is killing me about the coronavirus, more so than anything else. If you want to keep the kids home, keep them home 100% of the time, because taking them into school for, let's say, 2 classes in 8 classes, basically the exposure rate is almost identical, which means at that point, why not just either, if you're going to take that risk, do the whole day of school. If you're not going to take that risk and have them stay home so there's technically zero risk, if that makes sense. It just bothers me. This is, again, my sort of complaint about coronavirus and everything in Japan, and the way they've handled all this stuff is half measures. And actually something I complain about a lot when it comes to Japan policy or anything is the fact that everything is always half measures. It's never just like, let's do it right, let's do it full on. That's my intro, which was miserable. But it's because my computer asked me to put in a code that should not have asked me to put in for a music player after I've already logged into the computer. Okay, now we're going to actually start the news proper. I guess talking about half measures, or people are just not capable, or I don't know, man. This is pretty standard stuff for Japanese politics now. They created a digital agency, and they're like, okay, we want to bring Japanese government and just everything. The bureaucracy in Japan is ridiculous. Let's try to streamline it by getting people online. It's created to improve the infrastructure of Japan's bureaucracy. And this lady, Yoko Ishikura, she was now the new chief digital officer. So you would have some basic expectations like she can use a computer. She can do stuff without fucking up on her first day. Of course, the only reason we're talking about this is because she kind of messed up on her first day. She posted on her blog, and the blog post included a picture, and that picture included a watermark from Pixta. This would be like shuttle stock. Oh my. I think we see where my brain's gone this morning. I was thinking shuttlecock, like the thing is it badminton? I am now so outside my realm of knowledge. The thing you bang, the birdie, is also referred to as I'm not going to stop and look this up. I'm going to force my brain to not obsess about what a shuttlecock is, even though I know the instant I end this podcast, I'm going to spend a huge amount of time reading about shuttlecocks. The very deep, long pause before I said the word cock maybe was the problem there. Anyway, Yoko Ishikura basically committed copyright infringement by using an image she had not licensed properly on her blog. So then she apologized and took that down. Then the official website for the digital agency was unavailable to users, and her personal website, her blog, went offline for maintenance. And I think what they had done was realize, okay, we haven't actually been licensing our pictures. We got to scrub the whole thing of pictures or images and stuff so we don't get in trouble for this because we look really stupid right now. Let's not make that worse. But this goes to something I complained about the last time we talked about the digital guy. There was a guy in charge of cybersecurity. Was this old man who didn't know how to use a smartphone, and his justification. This story really sits in the back of my head all the time because to me this is the problem with Japan. He said, "Well, I'm super important, and I have people who do the computer things for me. I just tell them what to do, so I can function in my role in digital security." Without actually knowing how to do any digital security. And then everything got hacked. Japan, the country, got hacked. It just didn't exist anymore. That's Japan. You probably didn't realize Japan stopped existing for like 15 minutes once. And that was because the digital security guy didn't do his job right. But my hopes for the digital agency to streamline the bureaucracy in Japan is pretty low. The biggest news story over the last week is about Suga. Suga is the prime minister. What happened is Thursday, he had a meeting. He goes, you know what? I'm going to run for prime minister again. I've been pretty awesome at this. Everyone loves me. I think that's great. And then on Friday, he had a meeting. And then Friday evening, he's like, yeah, that whole me running thing, not so much. I'm not going to do that anymore. So basically, he's decided he is not going to be the continuing prime minister of Japan. He's going to opt out of the leadership race. He is basically going to step down. He has had a tough run. I mean, becoming prime minister during the pandemic was never going to be a good look. It's never going to work out for you historically, unless you did everything perfectly, which of course, kind of related to our previous story. It's very difficult to do things properly when you don't put the right people in place and you use sort of old Japanese thinking and values. He's been losing his public opinion of him has been dropping consistently. So he was never going to be popular. This led to some interesting things. He has gone to the hospital for a checkup and everyone's like, oh, maybe he's got coronavirus or maybe he's sick or maybe he's going to die. And that's why he's not going to be prime minister because Abe, the previous prime minister, he stepped down for health reasons. But it actually, Suga, and if you want to talk about one of his good points, he basically hasn't taken any days off. Like summer vacation, he was working. All the holidays that came up, he was working because he's trying to... I have a slightly more positive feeling of Suga than I think everyone else does because I've seen how he has tried to do stuff and I agree with a lot of his ideas and policies. He's just stuck in a world where it's almost impossible to be successful. So of course, being sort of a sincere leader is bad. That sucks. But yeah, that's just the way it goes. So his public opinion has been going down and a lot of people are like, yeah, well, he shouldn't run again. Then opposition parties started stepping in and they were furious that he's stepping down. And I think it's because they thought, well, because he's now seen as a relatively weak leader, we could beat him. If he steps down and we get a new leader, maybe we can't beat that guy. That sucks. So they started complaining immediately. But of course, their complaints don't make any sense. The opposition party is like, what? There was a ton of shit for us to like criticize. It would have been really easy for us to like, be really shitty to him. We could have maybe won some seats. They said it's irresponsible for him to step down because of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Ironically, the statement Suga made was like he had a choice. He could be the minister in charge of trying to take care of coronavirus or prime minister. It was too difficult to do both. So he decided to focus on coronavirus. So the opposition party making a statement that it's irresponsible for him because of coronavirus when he's saying, I'm going to dedicate all my time to coronavirus, doesn't really work out for me. Then some other party, I think it's the Communist Party or something, they said he's not qualified to run the government. But wouldn't then him stepping down be good? So like if he's not qualified to run the government, Or maybe they're saying he's admitting to being not qualified to run the government. But again, still, if he's admitting it, that means he's seeing his own failures and saying, like, I am not the right person for this job. Someone else should do it. Or he's not the right person for the job. So him stepping down is a benefit to the country at large. The criticisms are not well placed, because really what you have to say is he's good at the job, therefore he should stay. So he shouldn't step down. But of course, they want him to step down. They want him to stay because they think he might be someone they could beat in an election. I guess. I don't know. This is where politics gets interesting, because you want something, but you can't say what you want for the real reason. You have to say some other reason, but the other reason now doesn't make any sense because you can't tell the truth. A very interesting sort of side note is that one of the things Suga was really tough on was the telecom networks in Japan. And he was basically saying one of his main things was to get the price of cell phone bills way lower. And he's actually saying to international standards, he's saying Japan cell phones are way more expensive here. That doesn't make any sense. He was going to force them to lower everything. And it was actually having an impact. Everyone has assumed that the next person who takes the role isn't going to be as hard on cell phone companies as Suga is. So since they're not so hardline, the telecom companies were going to be able to abuse customers again. This added 1.3 trillion yen to telecoms through investments. So because the telecoms are going to be able to more freely abuse their customer base, it added value to them theoretically through the stock market, which is just fucked up. I mean, okay, I've sworn twice now, which I don't swear that much on the podcast, but making me put in that code to start the theme song really bothered me. I don't know why. This is like set me off. I'm furious now. I don't know what's happened to my brain. I think I just want a couple of days of silence. I want to be in the house alone, that kind of thing. I want my kids to go to school. I want quiet. I don't want to have to, like, after this, I'm going to have to go make lunch and, be a house husband and stuff. I want a day where I can sit down and plan. And that, can you put in your PIN code to turn on the audio player, just was wrong on so many levels. So that's all I have to say about Suga. There's a company called Nomura. It's like an investment company. No one really gives a shit. It's a brokerage firm, I guess, if we're being specific. And they have done a lot of telework. So a lot of people from them, they work on computers and they're like, well, coronavirus, you can work from home. So that's great. And it's, people are fine with it. They sent out a memo saying that from October, Nomura is going to be a non-smoking company. So a lot of buildings in Japan still have smoking rooms. So it's a room where you can go and stand with other smokers and smoke and get really stinky. It's a gross place to be if you don't smoke. I don't smoke. So I guess for a smoker, it might just be, home. But they made an interesting extension of this by saying, since we're a non-smoking company and you work from the company, it means if you're working for the company at home, you can't smoke at home. Now this, since we're talking about half measures, this is a mutual trust exercise. They're not going to actually monitor you. They're not going to check if you've been smoking at home. They're just saying, we are telling you as your company that you cannot smoke at home. We are going to trust you to do that. There will be no punishment if you smoke at home during office hours. So they're not saying you can't smoke at home all the time. They're saying if you're working, you can't smoke. But since they're at computers, doing stock stuff, I assume there's no way they could tell. So yeah, they can't check. And that's sort of almost an invasion of privacy if they do try. So there will be no monitoring and no punishment and mutual trust, which means people who smoke, I'm not like disparaging them as people, that they're like less trustworthy. But if you like smoking and you're at home and no one's watching you and you want to smoke, I'm pretty sure you're going to smoke. I don't think anyone's like really thinks otherwise. An interesting statistic has come up, though, that 2 out of 10 smokers, so 1 in 5. I don't know why they said 2 in 10. Now that's sticking in my head. Like, why that number? Why would you do 2 in 10 instead of 1 in 5? 1 out of every 5 smokers who is working from home has actually increased how much they smoke because they can smoke more freely. So they're sitting at their desk at home and they start smoking. And like, oh, I'll have another one because I'm working on the computer. No one's stopping me. I don't have to get up and go to the smoking room to smoke. It's far more convenient. That's an interesting side issue. These companies are like trying to say like we want to keep our employees healthy and stuff, which is fair. I think that's true. Ideologically, they probably do want healthy workers. I don't necessarily mean that they care about you, but that's not the point. It's not gonna do anything. That's all. If you're gonna smoke at home, you're gonna smoke at home. Okay, so we got some other stories. So a senior police officer was arrested for filming up a woman's skirt. Senior police officers should know better. Now, this is not even an interesting story to me. If I'm being honest, this is so common. It's just, I've always kind of picked on policemen because I feel like they should know better. According to police, the incident occurred at 6 a.m. on Friday at the Kozu station while this guy was going to work. But are you that horny at 6 o'clock in the morning? Like I guess there might be different people of different horniness levels. There are morning horny people, but I need a good night's sleep. If I wake up early, I am not going to be ready to go. 6 a.m. is way too early. I would need to sleep till 8 o'clock before I'm going to be ready to do it in the morning. So this guy, though, he's clearly an early riser. There's a euphemism there if you want. He pointed his smartphone up her skirt and grabbed his bag while she shouted for help. And then a station guard came and then called the police. They called 110, which is the 911 in Japan, so that's important. It's actually important to learn that the codes for 911 or things like that are different in different countries. So the guy denies it, but then they find 53 seconds of footage of the woman on his phone. So he's denied that this is like a thing he did, even though clearly the only way to get this thing to work would be to stick your camera up the lady's skirt. So way to go, dick. I'm a little negative today, like more so than normal. I think this is because there is zero surprise in this. Denying it and having the footage on your phone, like you should have deleted that before the other cops showed up, but I guess maybe. Yeah, I'm interested, like how did like the station attendant grab his phone? If I was in this situation, so I'd just like say I'm a criminal, I film up a lady's skirt, and then like someone calls the police, I would delete the footage. That would be like literally the first thing I'd do. And then I would deny it. You don't deny it if the footage is still there. You're caught. You're done. You suck. You suck. There's a new 10,000 yen note being released. It's got some exciting new features. Its texture is going to be different so that people who are visually impaired, they will be able to touch it and know it's 10,000 yen. The number on it is bigger, so it's going to be easier to see. They've replaced the dude. So the old dude was a writer. And so I always kind of appreciated that the people in Japan, the money in Japan always had like artists and stuff on it. This guy is Shibusawa Eiichi. He's the father of Japanese capitalism, which is appropriate for a bill, but also a bit disappointing that they've kind of shifted towards like finance people on their money instead of, trying to raise up other people or other things. I think the father of Japanese capitalism might not be as celebrated because Japan, as far as I can recollect, has been in like a 20, maybe 30-year recession. So it has gone from being like almost the number one, number two economic power in the world to number three, number four now. So maybe the father of Japanese capitalism needs to get his shit together. Dude's been dead for years. Don't know why I'm crapping on this guy. I'm kind of down on economists, maybe. I've had a thing about economists lately. They keep talking about how like essentially they seem to think like the economy will save everyone and everything. So disregarding environmental concerns and stuff, not realizing that environmental concerns mean your consumer base is all going to die and then you have no economy left. I think there's a fundamental issue there they miss that bugs me, that for the economy to thrive, you need people, and those people need to be healthy and have money. And that's not going to happen if you're destroying the environment. I'm not a strong environmentalist, but the contradictory message of economists bothers me to a great deal, because they make it seem like if we make enough money, the environment is irrelevant, despite the fact they're destroying the environment to make that money. I am all over the place today. I think I might just be in a bad mood. It has it also has a hologram on it. It's got like a little 3D thing that you used to get on Pokemon cards. So I guess you could start collecting this like Pokemon. That's vaguely interesting. Security feature to stop forging. It's great. The guy who was going to have his thumb in this image really needed to get this little bit taken care of. Oh, and that's dry skin over there. If you're going to have your thumb on screen, like magnified 50 times larger than it normally is, your thumb better be perfect. My thumb right now would be adequate. It's cleaner than this guy's. Sorry, dude. You are not the right person. They're going to redo the 5,000 and 1,000 yen in the future. And it's got bigger numbers on it for foreign people so they can see that it's 1,000 yen, 10,000 yen, 5,000 yen. I don't know. It was neat. That's all. Not much to say beyond that, to be honest. Underwear theft. Not something I actually even care about anymore because it's so common. And the numbers have to be incredible or something for me to actually start to notice. The only reason I pulled this story was because of something the police said. So this guy, he goes into a coin laundry and he steals 6 pairs of underwear from like a 20-year-old lady. I don't know if I have to explain that dryers are not a thing in Japan. People either hang their clothes outside or they have to go to coin laundries to dry them. I just explained it, so I guess I did. When they arrested the dude, because in the coin laundries they have cameras and stuff, so they caught him pretty quickly. They found 730 pairs of underwear, or items stolen. If you actually look at the picture on screen, it's items stolen from coin laundry. So there's dresses and stuff in there as well, but he's basically just been stealing tons of stuff. The interesting thing was the police statement was, we haven't confiscated such a large number in years, which actually means 2 things: that they have actually in the past gotten more than this from someone's house. And they didn't actually say how many times. And so now I want to know, in Beppu at least, because this guy clearly knows, what is the maximum number of items recovered. Then you can see in the picture again, this is the guy who lays things out. I mean, the blue tarp is down. This is the classic guy who lays things out image. Blue tarp is down. He's not really gone for any singular organizational pattern. The bras are kind of off in the right corner, but there's other bras over to the left where they might be part of sets, like things were stolen together. Then if you go up, you can see some dresses and stuff, and they're laid out. There's no sort of color pattern, but I think this is supposed to represent kind of the anarchy that is the theft of 700 pieces of clothing. The room they've chosen is very barren. It's very nice. It's a very stark contrast from the bright colors and the fanciful nature of the underwear, pitted against the brown wood solid color with very little emotion or feeling, realizing that this theft has stolen the emotion and feeling of so many people. Beat Takeshi is a famous guy. He's directed a bunch of movies. You might have known him from Yakuza movies and stuff that he's directed and starred in. He also is famous in Japan for Takeshi's Castle, which was, I think, dubbed into English and stuff because it was pretty stupid and funny. He's a comedian in Japan more than anything else. He was attacked the other day. He was sitting in a car and some guy ran up with a pickaxe. He also had a knife. That was the police took off him. But he took the pickaxe and he cracked the window. It doesn't actually say smash, which I was like, this must be pretty weak, dude. I think I could take out a windshield with a pickaxe. And then hit various parts of the car. So Takeshi personally was not actually injured. And he was arrested on the spot. That's the whole story. I read that and I thought, I don't even think I've seen a real pickaxe in like real life. Like I've seen them in games and movies and cartoons and stuff. But have I ever seen a real pickaxe? I don't think I have. And then I thought, like, where do you buy a pickaxe? Can you buy a pickaxe? So that was a set of questions that was just weird. I didn't really like. Why would you choose a pickaxe? I guess like if I was going to smash a car, and I assume attempt to get to the guy within it, a sledgehammer would have been my choice. But this guy went with pickaxe. It's a very sort of stylish choice, comparatively speaking. It's sort of old school, and yet because it's not a common item around, it gives it sort of a certain flair that we've maybe forgotten about in modern life. Side story, I have a very tenuous personal connection to Takeshi. I, in one of my early years in Japan, was in an ad campaign for my company. And in that, I was dressed up and I was the representative English teacher. He was in a different room. So one of the things I made very clear is I was never going to be in the same room as Takeshi, which was too bad because at that time I was kind of a fan. I actually would have been interested in talking to him, but you could hear him running his lines, which was like 2 lines. And he was supposed to say, "Why not?" And he was just butchering, blah, 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 blah. And he was doing it again and again and again, but no one was giving him any feedback. So he wasn't making any improvements. He was just saying the same thing slightly differently, slightly worse every time. So I had my pictures taken, and then on the poster, it's my picture with 2 ladies and then his picture on the other side. That was photoshopped together later. We were never actually in the same room. I also was standing on a box. So I'm 6 foot now. I was probably like 6'6" in that picture, but that's not important. It was just some of that interesting behind the scenes magic you don't know about in real life. And I said, my job is actually, I'm not a model. If you've seen my face, you can tell that's the case. I'm not a model. I'm actually an English teacher first. And if you give me like 5 minutes with him, I can at least improve what he's doing now, to a small degree. I can make it more recognizable, more seemingly English than what he's doing now. And they absolutely refused. It's not like I was going to ask for more money. It's not like I was going to harass Takeshi. I think it was the problem of I would go in and correct Takeshi, which is something you probably weren't allowed to do. So the commercial came out and he did his botched English, and anyone who actually understood English barely understood what he was saying, if they understood it all. And that is the closest I've gotten to fame, I guess. I'm not sure. Anyways, it's certainly the closest I've gotten to Takeshi, and it was always at least with a wall between us. And beyond that, the emotional wall, which apparently I need a pickaxe to take down. Maybe that's what that guy was feeling. He wanted to take that pickaxe and break down that wall that was between them and just try to connect on a human level.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe on iTunes, Google, Spotify, or anywhere you get podcasts. You can also watch on YouTube/Velocipodcast or streaming on twitch.tv/chunkmcbeefchest. You can find Ninja News Japan on Facebook. Send questions or comments to speakpipe.com/Velocipodcast, link in the description. Check out all the podcasts in the Velocipodcast family. See McB, Ninja News Japan, and Daily Affirmations Weekly. With these podcasts being the pickaxe of my heart, I will break down the walls, tear them down, and we will finally see each other for who we really are, raw, naked, and free.